Brother, I'm going run a wild Hulk Hogan. If I like get some moment, I'll make sure it's an explosion. Cause lately I've been seeing stars, trying to kick out of this chokehold. But it's no holds barred, middle fingers like I'm Stone Cold.
And what is up, everybody? This is another episode of the Slapping Meat Wrestling Podcast. I'm We Too Deep. With me, I got DJ WavyD. How's it going over there?
Here, what's going on? I'm feeling good. Eagles just won as we're recording, and I'm happy.
Absolutely, that was a crazy game. So as the title of the episode is going to suggest, we're going to react to what we saw at Survivor Series. I guess we'll start with the biggest news. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. CM Punk's back. And I want to start this off. Before I get your reaction, I have to sort of, I'm not going to take back anything I said, but I do got to say I'm a little pumped. And I know I've spent the last month sort of downplaying CM Punk being here. I'm not going to take it back because I don't necessarily think he's necessary, but I see the argument now that everyone was making about he may not be necessary, but having him is a good thing. And so it's better to have him. And I don't know how long I guess his contract was 3 years, whatever role that puts him in. But the next, especially going into what we call like the 9 weeks of hell, it's 8 or 9 weeks. I don't know how long till Royal Rumble, but This makes Raw, I'm assuming that's where he's going, a lot. Your Team Red's looking good over there now.
Yeah, I told you. It's not too late. NXT is great and all, but there's not no Team Red.
I'll say that they announced that he will be on Raw tomorrow, and that by itself is enough to at least check it out. So I'll definitely be watching Raw tomorrow. I normally don't, but. So what's your reaction to Punk, and then we'll talk about the Twitterverse and the IWC and how they've reacted to it.
So at first, the funniest part was I was like, "We Too Deep." So he in the Discord group chat, he was talking about I literally jumped out of my chair, and I was like the whole month he's been saying, "I don't care if he comes back. I don't care. It'll affect me either way." First one to hop out his chair. But I'm excited that CM Punk's back. I'm excited. I think this is a good thing for both him and WWE. You know what I'm saying? As long as he's a team player and WWE's a team player and everyone's working together and trying their best to be professional and put water under the bridge. I see nothing but money. I see nothing but good matchups. I see nothing but good storytelling. I think CM Punk is a good character to have in your locker room. In your promotion, and quite frankly, AEW didn't take full advantage of CM Punk, and they kind of drove him away. And one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Absolutely. I'm trying to pull this up. I saw Vince Russo. He tweeted something today, I think. He said, "When you're in the entertainment world, you have to deal and work with egos. It's part of the job. When any entertainer reaches a certain level, they're just going to be an ego to deal with. That's the business." Bottom line, Tony Khan didn't understand that and clearly didn't know how to deal with it. So now AEW suffers a major loss while WWE gets a major victory, which I agree with. You had I don't know very many AEW fans. You don't really see them more in the mainstream. They're mostly only on the IWC sort of social media.
They don't really go outside or anything.
Right. So I only sort of go off of my perception of that. I don't think they truly understand the business side of wrestling. CM Punk may be a horrible person. Okay, but he moves tickets, and fans in the casual market. I'm sure you know what In the Clutch is, right? Ross and I forgot.
Oh, the YouTube channel. Yeah,
Yeah,
Ross. Yeah,
yeah,
I know him for a lot of their other content. I do know
yeah,
that they reacted. They're big wrestling fans.
yeah. And
I
so,
watch a lot of their other stuff.
so I saw their reaction to CM Punk, and they
Scream like a
literally,
little girl.
yeah. So they that fan base, the more casual fan base, in the mainstream, that's who CM Punk attracts. And I've said from the beginning when AEW began, that's the audience they need to market to. That's where I felt WCW failed to get, and I feel a lot of like ROH failed to get it. TNA Impact failed to get the casual market, and in doing so, if you want to put yourself in that niche, that's fine, but stop comparing yourself to WWE. You're never going to hit that level if you don't get the fans like you, like me, and in the more casual uh, fan base. And so I think that's where CM Punk he brings in tickets. If Nashville tomorrow isn't sold out, it's sold out now that he's announced for it.
Yes, sir.
SmackDown's coming to Charlotte in February. I'm assuming he'll be on Raw, so he probably won't be there. So, but if they do something where he's sort of like Brock Lesnar, where he shows up anywhere, that tempts me to buy tickets for it. And so I think it's, as a business decision, you have probably the biggest name in the wrestling business, but you the way they brought him in, like they kept it a secret. The deal wasn't even known by anyone outside of like high level executives.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just on the screen, you put on the copyright logo. Everyone thought the show was ending, and then the music hits. And so just the presentation of him, Michael Cole didn't have to say anything about it to eat, right? They just let the moment play, then the camera cut off. So I'm happy with the way they did it. I thought presentation wise, the show was very, very good. I mean, we've had 24 hours now to think about it. So so I'll ask you this: who do you think Rollins is his first feud?
Um, yes, I think so. I think that's his first feud, but there's gonna be definitely many storylines that are gonna be intertwined with it, because of course, even though the good guys got the win at War Games, like Damian Priest still has the contract. Right. Judgment Day still runs Monday Night Raw. Cody Rhodes is, he still get beat, kind of be there. You'll see interaction between him and CM Punk before Cody goes off to SmackDown to start the road to WrestleMania. He's still gonna be on Raw for probably like another month or so. Right. And so there's gonna be a lot of storylines that go into it. You still got Shinsuke waiting in the wing, who might, try to get his crack at CM Punk. So I definitely think there's going to be a lot of avenues that are going to be explored and a lot of storylines that are going to be intertwined. I don't think it's going to be strictly Punk versus Rollins. I think people are going to interject themselves.
Yeah, and I think they I don't know if this was real heat, if they didn't know the way Rollins and McIntyre sort of reacted to him. There's some people who have actual beef, and we've seen that with Becky and Charlotte and Rollins and Riddle, that professionals can deal with that and put on decent performances. So I think Rollins is going. I think there's some matches they got lined up for him. Rollins going to be one of them, and we'll get the next 2 months over, head into Royal Rumble. I don't think Punk is winning Royal Rumble, but I mean I'm interested where they take them going into WrestleMania season. We'll move into the actual card now. So we start with the women's War Games match. What was your overall reaction to this match? Were you entertained by it, or?
Oh yeah, I was heavily entertained. Like, I was heavily.
his bae Asuka was in it, so of course he was going to be entertained.
My number one, my true love, Asuka. She was in the match, so I already had an eye for the match. But outside of her, or besides her, I think that the match was really good. I believe it was the better of the two War Games matches. Outside of the the RKO off the cage, like from the men's match, I think that the women's match was overall better. I think I enjoyed it more. The men's match, I definitely kind of forgot a lot of the spots, especially because I think the whole CM Punk thing afterwards, I kind of forgot a lot of the actual spots and the wrestling of the match. But the women's match, I definitely enjoyed a lot more. I did expect a little bit more at the ending. I thought they would kind of turn on Bayley during or after the match, like kind of on the show. I guess we're gonna say it for SmackDown. Come and watch. Stay tuned. Okay, we still got 9 weeks to the next premium live event, so they might slow burn it a little more. I was expecting more out of that. I did like the side story of Becky and Charlotte, kind of them rekindling. I thought that was a nice touch. And I really think that Io and Kyrie, I think they showed out. Io, I think she had the spot on. Oh, so she had the spot of the night until the RKO later on, when Io had the trash can jump off the top of the cage. I think that was spot of the night until the RKO.
Right.
And then I love how Kyrie delivered the trash lid, like the shots, which was hitting people with it. I thought that was pretty badass, pretty savage. And yeah, I think the women performed really well. Shotzi performed better than I thought she would, because we all know she has a history of of botching on the big matches, and just sometimes she can get a little sloppy because she gets she rushes herself. Maybe the stage is a little too big for her. I felt that she did pretty well this event, and I feel like she hit her spots for the most part. And there was one glaring mistake where the cameraman just had like a bad angle of her. Like you could see Shotzi was on the top rope, and she was telling her opponent to like stay down and move closer. You could like see her like saying it.
Right.
But that's production fault. But I think Shotzi had a good showing. That's kind of my main overview of the women's match.
Yeah. I feel basically the same as you. I thought Shotzi definitely did a lot better. Like you said, she does have I think it's more so her style and her gimmick that she typically plays, where she's more of the erratic, like wild card, and that tends to put her in a lot of situations where, like, was it the Money in the Bank match where she botched literally every move she did?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I thought she did well with the match. And as for the sort of result of it, I'm fine with the faces going over, especially with the story. I just didn't see a way for them to keep Bayley in that. You can definitely tell they're moving to Dakota being the leader, and so it made sense for Bayley to eat the pin there.
I was more on the side of the heels getting the win, because we kind of look forward to the future match. Like we kind of all knew the faces were going to win the men's match.
Right.
I thought the heels would get the women's match, and I don't know. I felt Shotzi, even though she performed well, I feel like she was out of place, like star power wise, like her whole
Absolutely.
team.
Yeah, she definitely felt out of place.
Yeah, so I don't know if maybe she was like their first, like their first choice to be in the match. I mean, she had the storyline.
I think a lot of it had to just do with they just picked 4 people who over the last year Damage Control had been in a feud with. And so I don't really know where she goes from here, though. I don't really think she raised her stake any farther up the ladder than she already was. I mean, when you're in there with the pinnacle of the business, and you don't overperform, everyone still outperforms you. You're still mid card. But it definitely, to me, it proves my point, and other people have said as well. We need some mid card titles for the women's division for someone like Shotzi to fight for.
Yeah, because she was putting it in a hard spot, because like her teammates are literally 3 of the 5 best female wrestlers on the world.
Right, and I will say I was with you. I expected the turn on Bayley to happen after the match, but like you said, we have 9 weeks till Rumble, so probably going to save that till probably January before Rumble happens. But overall, if you would grade this match, I don't really know how you would grade it. I'd give it like a B plus. Definitely the better of the War Games, but
I agree with that. I agree. Yeah, I would say 3.5, 4 out of 5. I mean, there was it was a good match. I mean, it wasn't bad. People hit their spots. There's a few, some good moments, some good spots. I feel like Dave Meltzer right now. I feel like an asshole, just like critiquing these guys for stuff that I can't do. But I mean, it was good.
Yeah. So then we move forward. Next match was with Miz and Gunther, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Miz and Gunther. Yep.
So on my review or prediction show, I thought this was going to be match of the night. And so I had high expectations for it. I don't know if anyone else did. I was thoroughly let down with how this match went. It wasn't bad, but when I set the bar super high for what I thought we would get, and it just didn't deliver to me. What were your thoughts on it?
I definitely feel this match and the other two, like the matches that all came in between, they
Right.
all kind of got the short end of the stick on time. I feel like this mismatch, it wasn't rushed, but didn't get the time I wanted it to get, especially for 5 matches on a 3-hour premium live event. I guess technically 3.5, but a lot of it is more like commercials and stuff. But I feel Gunther and Miz, they started telling a good story. The Miz, if he wanted to even have a chance against Gunther, had to be crafty and kind of dig into some of his heel tactics, even though he is the good guy in this feud, which I like. Cause I feel like you can definitely blur the lines between being a good guy and you don't have to be cookie cutter. I feel like the Miz did a good job of that.
Right. He definitely played. I'm with you. I think the problem when we think of face heel and we sort of put these stereotypes on what a face is, like he took the turnbuckle cover off. That's a heel tactic, but he did that because he had the motivation of winning the title. And I think there can be nuances and gimmicks. And I'm a good guy. I align myself with the good guys, but I want to win the title, so I'm gonna have to resort to cheating to do so. So yeah, I think the factor of he's looking to make history and being or tying for the most IC titles, which I think he'll eventually get.
Yeah.
And then the whole story of Gunther telling him, "Hey, you're not worthy to be in the ring with me," and then him showing out and almost beating Gunther. I definitely thought the storytelling was good. I just thought the match itself maybe lacked. And maybe it was the time factor. It just didn't hit the way I thought it was going to.
Yeah, it felt like they were going to like, okay, we have to hit this spot and then this story moment and then this story moment.
Right.
And like so we got the progression of the story. I feel it was told well, but they just there wasn't as many memorable spots.
Right.
We had the ring post figure 4, we had the turnbuckle, and then Gunther showing that he can win not only by pins and submissions. I feel like that's what makes him a dominant champion in the first place. Is that his wins necessarily aren't you can't see them coming. Saying like for example like John Cena, he'll hit the 5 moves, put you up for the FU or the AA, and then you're done for. Gunther, he might hit you with the powerbomb one match and it works and he gets the pinfall, but the next match it might not work, so he has to resort to the Boston Crab, or has to resort to the lariat or the splash, and he has different ways to finish the matches, which is why I like Gunther's character. And yeah, I just feel like the match just definitely need more time.
Yeah, now that you mention it, it is probably just it didn't get the time that it probably deserved, and I kind of figured that would happen with the 3 matches in between, because we knew it was going to be 50, 60 minutes for the 2 War Games matches each. So, I mean, I would give it, just personally for me, like a C+, maybe a B-. But like I said, it wasn't bad.
Oh yeah, I liked afterwards the press conference.
Yeah,
I don't know if you stayed and watched Gunther's press conference.
I did. Yeah, I watched the whole press conference.
I watched the whole way. I bet. Yeah. I like how Gunther kind of put over the Miz while still staying in character. He was like, the Miz proved that he could be in the ring. He's a worthy opponent. He just still couldn't beat me. And he's one of the greatest. But I'm the greatest. And he put him over. You put him over while still staying in character and still, keeping the curtain up a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Which I'm happy, because at times it feels like something like Cody's interview to me. He sort of broke the sort of kayfabe, and he interacted with, and that's what the journalists. We can do a whole show on that on the press conference. The journalists that they pick on, like, keep it to the show. Like, one of the dudes asked something about John Moxley. Like, he's not in the company. Please don't ask questions about John Moxley. Like, And so I don't, that's a whole different rant I could go on later. So the next match was that was Santos and Dragon Lee, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. I rewatched that match today.
I'll probably have to go back and rewatch it. Just I think for the day that they've had to sort of sell it, it was okay. I definitely didn't expect much from this match to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, what was your sort of reaction to it?
So I actually I went back and rewatched the 3 middle matches today because while we're watching it, we're all on the Discord, chatting or whatever. And I feel like, I definitely got distracted and was on the chat. And I feel like I kind of missed some stuff during the match.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back and watched the match, and I kind of still had the same thought. Is that if you go back and like really rewatch the match, there wasn't that many wrestling moves or spots. They definitely, out of the 3 matches, had like the shortest time strain. And it just like the story was there, he was trying to hurt his leg and take the mask off and all this other stuff. There just wasn't as many moves in that match. I feel I was expecting a lot more from the 2 of them, especially given 2 rings. I feel like none of the 3 matches actually used the second ring, which was
and that's one of my biggest problems with having war games every single year.
Mm-hmm.
Is you have 2 rings set up, and what they end up doing is you use the 2 rings for the war games, and then they swap back. So one match will use one ring, and then the next match will use the other ring.
Yeah.
I think if you're gonna have 2 rings set up, let every match be contained in both rings. Just it makes the setups, because I don't know, it just felt weird to me, having 2 rings set up and half the show it's not being used.
Yeah, I was expecting Dragon Lee to like do some crazy spot, like jumping from one ring to the other. I remember Rey Mysterio did that back in the day when he was wrestling WCW, and they had the pay-per-views that had the 2 rings. I vividly remember him like using the rings like that, and I was expecting kind of something similar between these 2, especially because they're both luchador wrestlers.
And that, I think my thing was when Dragon Lee was added, I guess my expectation was we would see like the sort of like stereotypical like independent scene like luchador match.
Yeah,
because both of these guys are very good like of that lucha style, and it really just felt super confined to like, hey, we have a story we want to tell. Don't go out there and put on a show. Just tell the story. So
I know we kind of give a lot of like flack, and we kind of shit on the AEWs and the indie scenes a little bit for being total spot fest throughout the night. But like if I want to see a spot fest, this is the match where I want to see the spot fest.
Right, and I'm not the biggest fan of spot fest, but I think with AEW, my problem is just a spot fest every match.
Yeah,
when you have one match that shows, hey, let's just super kick everybody. This could have been like, to use the AEW example, whenever Lucha Bros are in the ring, you're going to get 18 super kicks. They're going to do 1,000 topes outside the ring.
Yep.
What's his name? Phoenix is going to run the ropes 20 times. And
I'm ready to see that.
And this could have been that style of match. And I think it would have brought a level of excitement in the middle of the show where it felt really lulled in the crowd.
Yeah.
So I would not have been against a spot fest here. I think that this match would have called for it.
Yeah.
Overall, this is probably the worst match for me. I'd say like C-. That's about as low as I'll ever rate a match, though. I don't ever think anything's at D or an F.
I'm definitely rating it lower just because I wanted more and expected more out of these 2, and they definitely got weighed down by time constraint and storyline between these 2 talents.
Right. Then we have Rhea and Zoe Stark. The first thing I need to ask is, why does WWE's makeup department feel the need to just paint these women's faces in the most unattractive ways possible?
I thought Zoe's looked cool because I think Zoe's reminded me of like Tommaso Ciampa, and like it looked cool.
Were you the one that said that in the Discord?
No, it wasn't me, but I agreed. I think it might have been Kara who said it. I agreed with her. I was
Because
like,
as soon as you saw that, I envisioned her without hair and like, or like she looks like a beardless Champa. Like if you shave Champa, that's what I would have imagined. Now that visual is in my head, I'm never gonna not see it.
he's on Stu the lawyer. Remember? You saw this.
Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe this was the match I came in with the least expectations. I had
high expectations.
Really.
Yeah, I feel like these are two of the best female workers right now.
So I like Zoe, but there's just no way you can tell me Zoe Stark is level right now. She will be in the future, but right now as we sit, you think she's equal to Rhea Ripley?
So as far as like, do I think that she'll take the title off of Rhea right now? No. Like I knew Rhea was going to win, but I also knew Gunther was going to win. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So if I compare these two matches, I feel like I enjoyed the Zoe and Rhea match better than the Miz and Gunther match. And then, like, so what they're doing with Rhea a lot in her matches is that they're giving her opponents a lot of offense and kind of making Rhea look not weak, but Rhea's not getting a lot of offense in until like the very end where she pulls out, like,
right.
a nice reversal, a headbutt, 2 elbows, and hits her finisher. Zoe got a lot of offense in this match.
Right. And yeah, Rhea definitely has the resiliency card on 2K. Definitely.
Oh yeah.
Probably kick out 4 times with Rhea here. But I liked the match. I'm not going to say it was bad. I don't know. When I look at Zoe Stark, I see a lot of potential. I don't see the right now.
Oh yeah. I see the future.
Right, it's definitely like future star, but she'll definitely win it with. I think sometime next year she'll be champion, on one of the brands. I'm expecting another draft here soon. Just to shake it up, that's a sort of early prediction for me. What I think in 2024, especially with we have GMs, I think at some point they'll have a draft to sort of, especially with the new TV deals starting next year. So I think sort of late next year we'll have another draft when the new TV contracts start.
Also, to your point that you said before, I think Zoe is another person who would benefit from a mid-card title.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we talk about the main event, let's talk about some of the biggest return of the night of R-Truth. I don't know what.
I was happy. I was excited. I marked out.
I did too. Like I think they did it perfectly. Tozawa is just that like. I know a lot of people complain that Vince McMahon doesn't know, or WWE doesn't know how to use Japanese superstar. What they're doing with Tozawa is absolute perfection.
That boy nasty.
If Tozawa's on the show, I want to watch it.
He filled the role while R-Truth is gone. Tozawa was the comic relief, like backstage entertainment MVP.
Yeah, and now that Truth is back, I don't know how much we'll see Truth, but I'm happy to have him back. That was definitely a big surprise that I don't think anyone was expecting.
Real quick, before we get to the main event, I feel that one thing this show missed was like just a in-ring segment that wasn't a match, like a Waller effect. Right. I actually thought, like, my prediction was that they would get CM Punk out the way before the War Games match. That way people weren't like predicting him or whatever. They did it perfect though. I think that they executed perfectly. I just thought in case they were gonna hold Randy to like the very last minute and not like announce him at Raw, I felt a great way to do it was you kind of have Shinsuke come to the ring for just like a middle of the show segment or whatever, and then you had CM Punk's music play, but Grayson Waller walks out. Just to get the biggest heel heat of all time. He comes in the ring. Or maybe he stands. Yeah, he gets in the ring. And then after they're talking, like, how you guys are stupid, CM Punk's not coming, CM Punk's music hits. And he comes out.
Right. Well,
and then he GTS's Waller and him and knock more of a stare down.
After SmackDown on Friday, I thought that's what they were going to do because that's exactly what they did with Kevin Owens on Friday, where Theory came out dressed as KO, and I feel they could run with that type of gimmick, just sort of making fun of the older superstars that they're feuding with. A Punk led like faction with like Theory and Waller would be fantastic.
I,
I
can get behind it. I can get behind it.
I think WWE sort of low key needs to sort of put together young talent, because that's what CM Punk went to AEW for, was to put over the guys like Starks and MJF. And I feel if WWE just put a bunch of young guys, like the Creeds, something like that, together with CM Punk, maybe not the Creeds because they're good guys, and I don't ever see them really being the stereotypical
Bad
heels.
guys.
Yeah. But even someone like Braun Breaker as like the enforcer of a faction like that, I'd get behind that 100%. You mentioned Randy Orton at the beginning of the show. I think there was an announcement in the pre-show too that he wasn't there at the arena, and so the whole show we're sort of sitting here wondering, okay, is Randy actually going to show up? And then I thought the way they pulled off and executed this was fantastic. And then so you have the cash in, get ready to start, and then Randy's music hits.
I hear voices.
I don't know about you. Randy Orton's my favorite wrestler of all time.
Top three for me. Top three for me.
So, just hearing the music got me excited. I was out of my chair, running around, screaming at the TV, "Kick his ass, Randy! Kick his!" And then he comes out looking like he ate creatine the entire year and a half he was away.
You look like you about to pass out when you walk out.
And so, you know, I like the way they executed that. The match itself was kind of like iffy. My problem with War Games is you spend 50 minutes beating the shit out of each other and it doesn't actually matter. And then the bell rings and it finishes in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's a whole other argument we could have about the traditional Survivor Series versus War Games.
It's also bad when you have two War Games in one night. Because
right.
the women do all these spots, and now you're like, okay, well, they already took away like half the spots.
Right.
What else can the men do?
Right. Overall, I definitely think the CM Punk return overshadowed that entire match. But I will say with you, the Randy Orton RKO, I don't know if it was you or someone else in the Discord said that was the best RKO of all time.
That was me. Yeah, that was me,
you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need you to defend that one.
Yes. So while I was talking in our Discord, I was also in this other content creators live stream. You're familiar with Mr. Tusk?
Yeah.
I was in his live stream, saying, cool dude. And I was saying that's the greatest RKO of all time. He said, nah, that's number 2. And now I was like, which one's number 1? He was talking about the Seth Rollins one for WrestleMania, still number 1. I was like, bro, that's not even top 2. I told so if I'm ranking the best RKOs of all time that I can recall, number 1 was this JD one off the cage. Mind you, JD jumped from the top of the cage, like full spread belly flop, and guy's head taken off, like a foot from the mat.
Right.
And then number 2, I still think is the Evan Bourne RKO. That's number 2.
Yeah, that one. So
I think it's more impressive than the Seth one, and then Seth number 3.
Yeah, I think what made the Seth one, I think what make people sort of remember it for was it's WrestleMania, and I think the circumstances around that one. It's impressive. It takes a lot of timing to do it, but Evan Bourne's was definitely more impressive, and this one I thought took more timing than the Seth Rollins one. You fuck this up, someone's getting
breaking his neck.
Yeah, someone's getting insanely hurt. Did you enjoy this match? Like I said, I mean, obviously it was the worst of the 2 War Games matches, but
yeah, I mean, also we use the term "worst" very loosely. It was still a good match,
right?
It was just that the women's was really great.
Was better, yeah.
I liked when Randy got in the cage. Him and Jay had the little stare down, and then Jay was like, "Hey, you can trust me for right now. I'm gonna super kick this guy in the head."
Right.
And Randy was like, "Okay, I'll let you go for right now." But that's something that they could explore down the line, which I like that they, even before he came back, Jay played into it on Raw.
Right. I definitely get the vibe that Orton's not really aligning himself with them. He just sort of did a favor for Cody.
Yeah.
And so I definitely have this feeling that he's gonna turn eventually.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but heel Randy Orton's better Randy Orton. I've always felt that way.
I like the reason I like face Randy is that I like when he plays to the crowd because he'll go
Right.
off script a lot and just do some goofy stuff,
Yeah.
which I really enjoy. But storyline wise, heel Randy is definitely a lot
Yeah.
better.
I'm trying to think of what else happened during the show. We got the stupid Slim Jim commercial again, but
Great, that was a great commercial.
I mean, there's not much else for New Day to do, so put them
Or LA Knight, yeah, work him
or
in
LA
there.
Knight, yeah. I don't know if it was you who said something about how Jimmy was going to get involved. I'm surprised the Bloodline didn't get involved.
Yeah, I'm surprised Jimmy didn't show up whatsoever. I thought Jimmy was somehow like, maybe like taking Jay out on his way to the ring, like he was leaving the cage or something. I thought Jimmy would get involved somehow. I mean, I definitely like the match. Has some good storytelling. Judgment Day is still strong. I think they're still strong. I don't think they come out of this looking really weak.
Right. They did a good job preserving their ability, because they did dominate the match for the most part until Randy showed up.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's definitely the only thing I have an issue with is when is he going to actually cash in? I don't see a reason or a time period for a cash in to actually happen. I'm assuming Elimination Chamber could be the next opportunity.
The only way I can see some type of cash in between now and WrestleMania is if CM Punk aligns with the Judgment Day and he's like their true leader or something.
Right.
And CM Punk gets in the Rollins feud, they have their thing or whatever, and then also Judgment Day can still kick out Damian Priest and maybe like one of them beats Seth and then Damian comes back and cashes on them like after an injury angle. Like it's just a weird spot where Damian is right now.
Yeah, I think I don't know how long term they planned the whole Damian Priest thing. I'm not saying they jumped the gun, but I think they pinned him in after Backlash and said he's going to be our guy, and they didn't really think about it long term. And maybe it's just me. I've felt over the last couple months, Judgment Day has sort of been overexposed to the crowd, and so they're not being reacted to the way they used to be. I know for me, whenever their music plays, I sort of just roll my eyes and go back to my phone. I just feel like I've seen them too much.
I still enjoy them. I enjoy myself a good Dominic Mysterio, Rhea Ripley. I enjoy Priest. I think more than other people enjoy Priest. I would say out of the whole group, I guess Finn. I never had like a full like connection with Finn Balor. I just felt I never really knew him or got to know his character.
Right,
It was just because under Vince he was so stale and
Right.
so surface level. So I definitely feel like Finn is the least of the least connection
I think my issue is like you have Damian doing his own thing, and then Finn and JD McDonough is sort of doing their thing, and then Rhea and Dom are doing their own thing, and so it's like three different stories. And like Dom used to be on NXT all the time, and so other things. And I understand what they were doing. I just felt that they stretched them super thin to where there were like 3 or 4 different stories for the Judgment Day at one time.
Yeah, and they're being stretched thin.
Yeah, and so I think in the future they're still going to be dominant. They're going to definitely run Raw, and I don't necessarily. I don't necessarily think the whole the Super Friends as a pairing are probably done, but they're still going to be, the big guys against, like we'll probably get, I'm assuming Orton and Priest will be the next like feud. And then Rollins will probably, I'm going off the assumption Punk's on Raw to be Rollins and Punk. You mentioned Nakamura. I'm surprised that he didn't show up at all. I expected we would at least get a promo or a vignette calling out whoever he's talking to.
There were some rumors or speculation that that Nakamura's like message is like for like to get Okada over.
That's what I've been reading, and the idea is that they're trying to show that Triple H is going to treat Japanese stars better, and they're trying to sort of woo Okada over here. The problem is you don't know when Okada's contract ends. I tried to research it. There's no information on it. And another name that I thought of that I don't know if people actually recognize, it was Hideo Itami or Kenta.
Oh, I was thinking AJ Styles.
That would be, I mean, he hasn't been seen in a while, so that could be an interesting name as well. But I definitely think they're using Shinsuke to sort of woo over some sort of person who has connections to the New Japan or something like that. I definitely see a lot of people coming from there to WWE in the future. And then another name I'm surprised we didn't see, because my prediction was Rhea would win and Jade Cargill would debut officially as the next challenger. You could save that for Raw. That probably is what they're going maybe will do. But I just thought it would be a bigger moment.
I guess they want her like debut to be overshadowed by the return of R-Truth.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Well, I think, and Triple H did address this in the press conference where he was like, look, we want her to be ready, and whenever she says she's ready, we'll be here for her. So they're definitely giving her time to grow into, because she definitely needed to work on the in-ring. She wasn't bad, but I mean,
and this is a little green, yeah.
But when you work there for 2 years and you only run like 65 matches, you don't work the indies, and they won't build you a performance center.
And half your matches are squashes.
Right. So I can understand how little actual ring time. I don't think people realize that 65 matches isn't a lot. Like 2.5 years isn't a lot of experience when you're wrestling once a week. So, it was one of those things. I expected her, but hearing Triple H say that in the press conference, I'm like, okay, let's slow the brakes on Jade. We'll probably get her Royal Rumble, is my assumption.
Yeah.
But
worst case is she comes in as an entrant in the Rumble. If we don't see her before that, she debuts in the Rumble. A lot of people make their debuts in the Rumble. That's where AJ made his debut.
Right. And so I guess to end sort of the review part of the show, when leaving this, are you excited about, we don't have another Premier Live event to a Rumble, unless you want to count Deadline, but that's NXT, so we don't. For main roster, are you excited about what we're getting heading into 2024?
Headed 2024, I would say I'm pretty excited for what WWE has to offer. Raw has stories left and right. SmackDown has some good some good blocks. They have the bloodline, and stuff will develop with that going into Mania season and all that stuff. So they kind of have like their main event scene set. They have some good building blocks for the undercard. You got the Hurt Business or the Hurt Profits, however that's what I call them the Hurt Profits. And then you got BFAB, kind of, I guess, who's going to be joining them, which should be interesting. You got the whole LWO Santos storyline going on. You got Ridge and Pete Dunne going at it. I guess they just broke up. We might get the return of Pete Dunne's character from NXT, the Brawling Bruiserweight.
That'd be cool.
And then so SmackDown has some good stuff building up. NXT is always got the good young talent who they put on really good matches because they're really trying to show out, so they put their most into every match. And I think WWE has a bright future going in 2024. And we have I know you don't like the overseas events, or you don't like how many there are, I should say. But you have to say, like, that the crowds overseas, they don't get the WWE shows. So even though we're the home market, we get a little oversaturated. You know what I'm saying? Like we get so many events here in the States that I'll see them next year. This card wasn't that great. I'll see them 6 months from now.
Right.
Over there, they might get like once a year, once every 5 years, once every 15 years. And so when they go overseas, like it's almost like having another like WrestleMania, another Crown Jewel, like another Clash of the Castle. Like these are big events. The crowds are wild. Even though all the time that they're not cheering about the wrestling, they're just being wild to be wild. I'd rather have a wild crowd that's being wild than a mild crowd being mild. And so if I have to watch it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or watch it the next day at like 6 a.m., I'll make time and I'll watch it. I'm usually free all day Saturday. I can watch it whenever, me personally.
Right. And I understand that. I definitely understand that perspective. 2024, I think, is going to be an interesting year, not just for WWE. I think they have a lot of star power, there, but we have a lot of interesting sort of free agents in 2024. Kevin Owens' contract ends, I think, in October. McIntyre, to my understanding,
May,
isn't.
I think.
Yeah, I think his is like May, and to my understanding, he doesn't have a new deal. And then the AEW guys, we don't know what MJF's official status is. Ricky Starks, Hobbs, Wardlow, I think all of them would be free agents, if I understand correctly. So all of those guys I could see being potential WWE guys. And so I think 2024 for the whole wrestling scene could be an important year. And I don't want to say AEW is going to die. I don't actually wish that. Because I do think they are a necessary part of the business.
Mm-hmm.
But AEW, by their own doing, they may have sabotaged their long-term success with how they've treated CM Punk.
Yeah, and then even some of their on-screen stuff.
Right. Well, yeah, we can sit there and argue all day about why drinking blood is probably not the best thing to do.
Yeah.
But
That's talk for another day. I'm trying to get James and Cody on here. I got
well now that you mentioned it, I called out them, and we have decided at some point we're all four gonna do a weekly show. I haven't really figured out when yet. I'll probably save that till next year, like January. And we'll but other than that, they will be back.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So I know. So we covered all the the match and everything, all the matches for Survivor Series. What are your thoughts on the stuff that got caught by fan cameras? Do you think the Seth Rollins thing, like how much of it is work versus him actually being mad? The whole Drew McIntyre thing, because let's start with Drew. I get reports are he beelined it from the ring. He went backstage, slammed some doors, left the arena, didn't do a press conference. The whole shebang. I saw some like a fan camera that shows like the cameraman was like waving Drew past, like telling him to kind of go, like here's your cue, like walk up the ramp or whatever. So I think that might be some type of work. And I think Seth is professional enough for his is a work also.
I think so. Here's where the business and where kayfabe comes into it. I think they absolutely despise him, but I do think Seth Rollins. I saw someone, I forgot who it was. They tweeted Seth Rollins is Seth Rollins and not Hangman Page. And the idea is Hangman Page is where he's at because he doesn't know how to be a professional. Jack Perry is where he's at because he's not. No one ever really considers Adam Page in WWE because he's the immature, sort of hang out with the super kick guys. And Seth Rollins is a professional. And I think at the end of the day, they understand business is business. And if it makes them money, why not let him back? I think Cody put that in the press conference, when he was asked about it. If there's a story to tell, and so I think part of it is a work, and part of me feels that they're trying to draw up this backstage drama sort of as a way to sort of poke at CM Punk leaving AEW. I think that would be smart. Start putting like news reports out on your Twitter or X or Facebook pages of there's drama in the locker room around CM Punk, or Seth Rollins tried to attack him or something. Just little things to show there's backstage drama as just sort of a way to poke fun at it. But yeah, I think part of it is Seth Rollins doesn't like the dude, and he's going to use those feelings in a work way to
similar to Riddle.
Right. Right. So yeah, I think WWE has this under control. To my understanding, everyone that was in the War Games match was told prior to leaving the curtain that he was going to debut, so it wasn't a surprise to him. And so I think a lot of it is, people don't like him, but he's here, and they're going to do the best they can to sell a story.
Yeah.
And I'm more interested in a Seth Rollins CM Punk feud now than I was, a month ago, because of the way Seth sold his debut.
And
So
honestly, like if Seth really wanted to go get at him, do you think Michael
Michael Cole,
and,
right,
and Corey
right,
Graves called him back? Like,
right,
I'm sure if Seth really wanted to, he can go up there. Again, yeah, I don't think he likes him at all. I think he despises him. But Seth is a professional. We've seen him work with guys he doesn't like, Wawa, Matt Riddle. And that adds some good on screen entertainment when him and Riddle, remember, had that
that
Skype,
promo, yeah,
yeah, the
yeah,
Skype promo, like that was really good. It added to their
and
fight pit
the
match.
and Punk Rollins promos themselves will be the best part of the feud.
Oh yeah,
And so
it's like when you were saying that Punk versus what's it called, Kenny Omega, or Punk versus Hangman, like
yeah,
they try to get the two guys to fight, to like you can make money, like you can make
right,
money, like put your ego aside, you might not like him, but use your beef to like sell a story, and then y'all can have this crazy big match that makes y'all money.
right. And so yeah, I think there's a part of it where that's Seth Rollins' actual feelings to him, and he was able to sort of shoot on Punk in his reaction. But it's all for the goal of selling a match. I think professionals will be professionals, and I'm pretty certain, sometime before tomorrow Raw, that WWE is going to have a meeting with all the superstars and say, "Hey, he's here. You either be professional about it, or we'll have to." There's actual like leadership there. Whereas I feel with AEW, like Tony Khan could have easily stepped in and said, "Hey guys, you don't have to like each other, but you're having this match at All In, and make it work. Let's go make money to 81,000 people." And
How do you feel about the Drew McIntyre part? Do you think his is more work, or?
so my question when I saw the news report was, is this just the media sort of overhyping people's reactions to it? Because I do think that that's a work as well. I if it's not a work, I can sort of understand where Drew is coming from, because they're not anywhere near money, the money that he wants. So if he does resign, it will be for less money. And then you bring in Punk, but at the same time, it's business. Like it's it happens. He's a big draw right now, and so he's going to get paid.
Also,
And
I think even if Drew doesn't resign right away, like I saw reports that big thing is that he just he wants to be with his family back
right, right,
overseas, and so he might take some 6 months off, go hang out with his family, and then come back recharged after a while.
I have a feeling, and this could be what he does, that they're going to bring back NXT UK. I have a feeling that with the expansion of the worldwide sort of event PLEs, that we're going to have a NXT Japan and NXT Europe, maybe even, I know they were planning an NXT Africa at one point. I don't know how good that would be received. I know there's a lot of people who are fans in Africa of the company, and they do a lot of recruiting there. I think Apollo Crews is was recruited there.
Yeah, Nigeria, right?
Yeah. And so I think that's what ends up, and I mean, I would be fine with Drew going over and sort of headlining NXT Europe. How they get it done, I have no idea, because I would assume that would be a Peacock exclusive thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think part of it is him working, and the fun part about it is no one knows for certain. And so at the end of the day, we're all trying to find information on it. And I think that makes the business fun and entertaining. And we're all on edge trying to figure out what's going to happen with Punk. And so Before we get out of here, the last thing is I need to look in this camera and speak to the meathead himself, Ryback. You need to retire, you fucking idiot. If you guys don't know, he put on Twitter that if CM Punk returned, he's going to retire. And then he returns. He's like, no, he's supposed to retire in AEW. I'm not. First off, you've been retired for like 12 years because you haven't been in a ring since you got released. So, yeah, I knew at the end because he plugged his protein powder. So I knew that it was just trying to get exposure. But yeah, Ryback, just you're on Twitter or on TikTok talking to puppets. Like, please just don't ever consider wrestling again.
Yo, unblock my homegirl Kara. All right,
Right, right. What she do to you?
Yeah, unblock Kara, or we have a problem. Okay, Ryback, Sheffield. All right, unblock Kara. There's gonna be a problem. You're gonna have two men come to your crib, and there's gonna be 3 men slapping man meat. All
right. And so, well, in that the next big event for WWE is actually going to be in Bridgeport, up near where you're at. Deadline NXT deadlines in 2 weeks.
35, 40 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
I looked at tickets today. I might go, I might not. I'm still debating. The arena's not huge, so any seat is a decent seat. So right. I might pull up.
All right, that'll be fun. I went to what was the event in February this year? Vengeance Day? I think it was Vengeance Day. Yeah. I went to it was in Charlotte this year, and that was pretty fun. They chose the Hornets Arena though, so it was super big. I don't know why they chose that. NXT, next time you come to Charlotte, we have use the arena AEW uses only seats about 6,000 people.
Is that the one in Greensboro?
No, it's in Charlotte. It's the Bojangles Coliseum. It's in Charlotte. It only sits like 6,000 people. It would look more intimate on. And I even think that's too big for 8 because I don't know if you saw this. Ric Flair just challenged someone from ESPN to a match in Charlotte.
Yeah, I saw your post about it.
And I looked at my brother James. They're going to the show because they haven't been to Charlotte in like 3 years. And they were like, "We're buying tickets. You want to go?" And I was like, "If I do go, I'm going to wait till last minute because I don't really care enough to buy tickets right now. I'm going to wait till the ticket prices go down." And then I looked and I was like, "This is why I don't go to your circus shows. Like, no one's interested in Ric Flair wrestling. Like, I just, yeah, it is what it is." But overall, what would you grade Survivor Series? And then we'll
let's see. Match wise, I give it a 3.5 out of 5. You know, 3 out of 5, 3.5 out of 5. As far as like entertainment and the storyline and the outside stuff, like the memorable stuff that we're going to talk about like 6 months down the line, I'll give it a 4.5 out of 5. Some big returns, some big moments. It's going to lead to a lot of storylines down the road. It's definitely going to be an important PLE that might be looked back on years from now. As you know, right. While we're telling people stories like on those documentary series.
Right.
2023, when CM Punk came back, Randy Orton returned, like, you know what I'm saying? The Fall Judgment Day. Like, we're gonna look back at it. And it's gonna be an important one as far as impact and storyline.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely think we're gonna get a documentary with CM Punk. I mean, 10 years basically. Royal Rumble will be 10 years since his last event, which happened to be Royal Rumble 2014, which also happened to be the first pay-per-view I watched when I got back into wrestling. So, and so it's been a while since we've seen him, and he looked healthy. He didn't look like old like he did in AEW. So.
I don't know if it was because he looked healthy or he just shaved all the grays off.
Well, that is true. That is true. But yeah, I'll go with a 4.0. I'll go in between your two ring and then say 4.0. It will be important. It was definitely better than I expected in terms of the results and how they would feed into. And I will just say right now, Triple H is cooking right now. He's got full control. He doesn't have Vince in his back pocket making changes. And I know last year, what we call the 8-9 weeks of hell, that was actual hell. Like it sucked. But I think this year will be, I think he knows what he's doing. And I think we will be highly entertained over the next 8 weeks leading into Royal Rumble.
all my wave riders, come join Team Red. Okay, Raw's gonna be cooking with fish grease these 9 weeks. All right, come
Yeah,
join
I mean,
Raw.
if they do a good job on Raw over the next 9, I may join you over there. I may. We'll see. It's up in the air. But with that, thank you for joining. Thank everyone for watching. Again, like, share, subscribe, leave a review, comment, whatever, depending on the platform you're on. And yeah, we'll see you guys on the next episode. And until then, have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you later.
Brother, I'm going run a wild Hulk Hogan. If all I get's a moment, I'll make sure it's an explosion. 'Cause lately I've